And the skill set to bring this into reality is actually a teaching protocol that lets everybody actually deal with how to use these skills in their own personal lives. Well, we were talking about the skills you're bringing forward, the information you have to share about time and its place in the remote viewing world. So let's let you get back and start again in that area.
See, in remote viewing, we can describe a future event, but it's very difficult to know when that future event will occur. Or we can describe the future state of a person. We can say, oh, okay, this person is going to be doing this and this and this, but we can't really tell you exactly when. In order for us to overcome that problem, we have to determine what time is, and really probably come as quite a shock, or maybe not, but some people are actually aware of this. Time is an illusion. It's a mental construct that we use. When we say it's 9 o'clock, that's your local time.
Yeah, I follow you, and time is an illusion that we live with, and it's fairly real for most people.
Yeah, it appears to be real. On the DVD, I used a metaphor of a jet aircraft traveling faster than sound. I know that most people have looked up into the sky, and their eyes will point to the sound, but they won't see a plane, and they'll have to scan the horizon, and then they'll find the plane over off far to the left or right, and the sound is chasing the plane. Well, metaphorically, as a metaphorical construct, reality is much that way. Our conscious awareness is analogous to the sound that is chasing that plane. So what we discovered in remote viewing, via remote viewing, was that reality, for the most part, has already occurred. It's very much like the sound of that aircraft as it's chasing the aircraft physically through space. Our conscious awareness is sort of transiting a pathway that physical matter has already walked through, so to speak. So this is why we can remote view a future event, because the future has already occurred. And in fact, from a quantum mechanical perspective, all time is actually occurring at once. Our conscious awareness, in one sense, sort of pinned to a particular moment in time. And our conscious awareness is what gives us the illusion that we are moving through time. And this, again, is stuff that we discovered via remote viewing. So what we did in order to pin down time, in order to be able to determine when an event in the future, we have to create a metaphor for time. In cognitive science, the cognitive linguists, mathematicians, they use a convention known as cross-domain mapping and conceptual metaphors. What a conceptual metaphor is a body of knowledge from a mathematical standpoint physicists use all the time. They can take an algorithm or a formula from one physical science and apply it to another physical science through what they call cross-domain mapping. So what we did is we looked at how the matrix, the source of all information, looks at time. And it sees it as one great big event, everything occurring at once. From the human concept of time, we view time as a linear sort of progression, a linear transiting, moment by moment, step by step, always moving forward. So this gives us two domains. There's the target domain and the source domain. The target domain is the matrix's concept of time, what we call the matrix, the source of all information, something called the mind of God or whatever. From my perspective, I like to use a technological terminology. I call it the universal database. Our concept of time as humans is linear. We take these two concepts and we essentially map it out. We draw a topological representation of time, and then we are able to delineate or denote on that map where we are and put a few other markings on the map and essentially ask the universal Google database, where does this event occur on this timeline? In essence, we draw a map of time. And by using the latest protocol, the latest development in remote viewing is called hybrid associative remote viewing, which is far more accurate than simple associative remote viewing because it brings in elements of the original technical remote viewing protocol. So we can find things in time and know when they occur. So that's essentially my contribution to the remote viewing community. Is being able to determine when things will occur in time.
That's pretty fascinating, and I'm sure there are both financial and benefits all through the system. But I think and I actually had the privilege of watching your DVD and your teaching this time protocol, and we probably can't go into detail here because it's necessary for somebody to have the remote viewing techniques already in their hands before they learn your Chronos or time-oriented process. Is that correct?
In order to use Chronos, a person already needs to know how to either use technical remote viewing, coordinate remote viewing, or controlled remote viewing. So essentially, if you've been taught by Paul Smith, who was one of the original military remote viewers, or Ed Dames, or Ingo Swann, or myself, or anyone in the consortium, you'll be able to make use of Chronos. It's really meant for at least an intermediate remote viewer, although we do have what I call the crash course in remote viewing. It's free, completely free. All you need to do to get this crash course is sign up at our website, and it's delivered to you over a series of days. Every 2 to 3 days, you get an email with a link to our website that will allow you to view a video that will teach you the very basic fundamentals of remote viewing. It'll teach you just enough to be able to actually use the Chronos information so you can figure out when things are. Now, of course, it's going to take some practice. I mean, it's not something that you're just going to pick up. But it is teachable. It is learnable. If you stick with it, within a few weeks, you'll be able to actually get into this and solve problems that are occurring every day in your life or your friends' life, your family. It's a great tool to help people, both spiritually, mentally, physically, everything.
Yeah, Michael, what we'll do is we will create a link on the Science for Life website that will allow people to go directly to that your website and sign up, because I think if people understand that this is something they can practice and discover, develop, see if their interest unfolds, I think it's a beautiful thing that you're doing, giving people a way to stick their toe in the water. And it's also great that you're not saying this is the ultimate course. This is a beginner's course that you can find out if this is something that has value in your life or it would be a real helpful tool. My sense is it's going to be helpful to a lot of people that once they find their own abilities to be strong, or once they realize how connected they are with the matrix.
Yes, and that is another interesting point that you said, the interconnectedness of things. We discovered in the Chronos research development phase that everything truly is interconnected at a quantum layer, and it is because of this quantum interconnectedness that everything shares that we are able to gather this information. Because when you think about it, it's really amazing that by looking at a couple of numbers that we can gather information about something that we can't even see, that we can't physically see, touch, feel, smell, and taste, but that we can gather the information and have it be accurate. When a person is trained, when they actually are, trained, they sit down, they learn to go through a course, you will end up, as a trained remote viewer, with be somewhere between 80 and 90% accuracy. Now, this is far above and beyond what any mere psychic is able to do. But, of course, it takes time. You have to build yourself up to that accuracy. But it is possible. In our financial group, we are hitting about 81% accuracy. And that's an incredible amount of accuracy for a group that is monitoring and utilizing remote viewing to monitor something as dynamic as a futures market.
Right.
The NASDAQ indexes that we are monitoring, very dynamic market.
I have a question, Michael, and I come from a strange place sometimes, but my passion in life is bringing the message of community, because that is the genesis of life, is that the more connected we are, the more powerful our mind's ability, the more survival functions kick in. But you're talking about remote viewing not as just a personal skill, but also in community. You're talking about remote viewing groups. Talk about, if you would, the change, what happens. Does it take time for the group to get in sync, and then as a group, are you more accurate than an individual perhaps using these skills?
Oh, yes, very much so. That is really one of the great things about remote viewing, is that it is a community. It's best, in fact, if you get involved in remote viewing, you quickly discover that there is just so much that you can do with it, that you begin to share it with people, and you begin to form little groups of your own. But the real power of remote viewing is when you work together as a team to solve a problem.